Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take the source material you've sent our way, those deep articles, books, research notes, and we really try to distill the core insights.
And today, we're jumping into a big one.
A really big one. We're doing a deep dive into self-mastery, into the very structure of a life well lived, and we're using the fascinating work Disciplined and Free by Reuben Juma Onunga.
An engineer's perspective, which is key.
It is. And our mission today is to unpack a provocative thesis. It's often linked to the legendary marathon runner Eliud Kipchoge.
Right. Only the disciplined ones are free in life.
Exactly. And that just sounds like a contradiction. Discipline feels like restriction, like being put in a box. But this source argues it's the absolute highest form of liberation you can get.
And that paradox is, it's exactly where we have to start. The whole problem is a misunderstanding of what freedom even is.
Okay, so how do most people define it?
Well, most people hear freedom and they think it means doing whatever you feel like doing. Lawlessness, basically. And the source material is just relentless on this point.
That it's sweet in the mouth but bitter in the stomach.
Precisely. That kind of freedom, the absence of rules, it always leads to chaos. What the author argues is that true freedom isn't the absence of rules.
It's the presence of the right rule.
Exactly. It's self-government, inner leadership. And look, if you refuse to design and discipline your own life, life itself will step in and discipline you. Through regret, through debt, through broken health, through the tragedy of wasted years.
That's powerful. I love the analogy the author uses, comparing a person without self-control to a city with broken down walls. It's so vivid.
It's the perfect engineering mindset, isn't it? Your life is a structure. And if your internal walls are down, you are just wide open.
Invaded by every little worry, every impulse.
Every mood swing, yeah. There's no stability, no structural integrity. You're just constantly reacting.
Which takes us right into part one of this deep dive, what the source calls the hidden slavery. Because from the outside, we all look free, right? We have choices we can move around. But internally, so many people feel trapped. And the argument here is that this slavery comes from the tyranny of our own moods and passions.
Yeah, and they are terrible masters.
Why are they so bad?
Because they're powerful, yes, but they're just so unreliable. They change like the weather, hour to hour, day to day. If you build your life on moods like you only work when you feel motivated.
Or only save money when you feel secure.
Right, your foundation is sand. You're not leading, you're just being carried along by whatever whim pops into your head.
And that instability is exactly what the source calls modern slavery. The book gets really specific about the chains that bind the mind today. And it starts with distraction.
Yes. The great irony, we have all this comfort more than any generation in history, yet we're restless, we're anxious.
So how did distraction become such a master?
It's a matter of obedience and design. Think about your phone. It's a machine built to hijack your focus. Every notification, that little ding or buzz.
It's a tiny master ringing a bell.
It is. And it demands your immediate attention. If you jump every single time, you are, by definition, enslaved. Your most valuable currency, your focused attention, is constantly being stolen.
And right next to that is what the author calls the slavery to appetite and comfort. It's just, the irony is incredible. We obey our desire for comfort.
Hitting the snooze button, avoiding the gym, avoiding any hard thing.
And that very obedience leads us straight into this comfortable but very real slavery.
It's the ultimate design flaw of modern life. A disciplined person gets that avoiding effort today, just guarantees you're going to suffer tomorrow. Physically, financially, mentally. When comfort is your default, your whole structure just starts to erode.
And we can't forget fear. The source frames fear not just as an emotion, but as an actual prison.
An active one, yeah.
What kind of orders does that prison give?
It gives the same command over and over. Don't try. It says don't start that business. Don't have that difficult conversation. It just keeps you postponing your life.
Living in the waiting room of destiny.
That's it, exactly. Paralyzed by caution that you're disguising as wisdom. You become a slave to inaction.
Okay, so let's get into the liberation process. This is where that structural integrity model really comes into play. The author argues that discipline has to be holistic.
Right.
You could have amazing discipline with your money, but if your relationships are a mess, your life leaks power. You've got to build the whole thing.
Which brings us to the core of this deep dive. The 7 pillars.
The 7 pillars of a disciplined life.
Precisely. If one pillar is weak, the entire structure is at risk. And we have to start at the top, with the headquarters.
The discipline of the mind.
The command center.
Right.
The factory. You can't build a free life with a captive mind, one that's just imprisoned by constant noise and worry and comparison.
So what's the core mechanism for mental discipline here?
It's all about training your attention.
Yeah.
And the author defines mental discipline not just as learning new things, but as intentional fasting.
Mental fasting, what does that mean?
It means you intentionally step away from the noise. You fast from social media, from the news cycle, from drama, all to create some clarity and silence. The source recommends like 90 minutes of dedicated, uninterrupted time to let the headquarters recalibrate.
Wow. Okay, so that's a real tangible practice.
It has to be. You can't produce excellence in tiny little fragments.
So once the mind is focused, we move to the vehicle it's piloting, the discipline of the body.
Which is framed entirely as stewardship. The body is the vehicle for your destiny. If you neglect it, you're directly sabotaging your own mission in life.
It's not just about energy, is it?
Not at all. Poor health compromises mental clarity, emotional stability.
Yeah.
It puts a drag on the whole system.
And the practical takeaway I loved was that health responds to consistency, not to excitement.
It's the boring faithfulness that wins. But sometimes discipline is, well, counterintuitive.
How so?
The engineering approach includes intentional rest and recovery. Discipline isn't always about doing more. Sometimes it's about strategically choosing to stop.
Making rest a form of structural maintenance.
Exactly. Not just waiting until you burn out and collapse. Refusing to rest wisely is, funnily enough, a form of indiscipline.
Okay, so once the physical vehicle is maintained, we move inside to the volatility of our internal steering wheel. The discipline of emotions.
And this is where the source introduces the idea of calm power.
Calm power. I like that.
It's the mastery of the gap. Emotional discipline is the ability to create a pause, like a moment of space between what happens to you and how you respond.
And in that space is where freedom lives.
That is the physical location of freedom itself.
And the source is clear on the emotional chains. Uncontrolled anger, stored offense.
Huge ones. The undisciplined person just vents. They're controlled by the rush of emotion, and they end up destroying relationships with careless words.
And what about stored offense?
That becomes bitterness. It's an internal poison. A disciplined person understands that forgiveness isn't a gift to the other person.
It's an act of self-liberation.
It's cutting the chain that ties you to a past wound. If you don't forgive, you stay a prisoner. You're constantly reporting back to yesterday's pain.
Wow. Okay, so forgiveness is a structural need for future peace. Let's shift to the external structure, starting with the discipline of relationships, the true wealth of life.
Right. And relationships are systems. They need constant, low-level maintenance. They don't usually collapse in some big dramatic event.
They collapse gradually.
Through small, repeated acts of indiscipline.
What are the key disciplines here?
First, speech. The tongue can destroy in minutes what took years to build. And second, the discipline of presence.
Just being there.
Fully there. In an age of distraction, giving someone your unfragmented attention is maybe the highest gift you can offer. Choosing people over screens. And, crucially, boundaries.
Boundaries as protection, not as hatred.
Yes. They are just the structural limits that protect the integrity of your life.
All right, now we get to the one where it really hits home for a lot of us. The discipline of money.
The clearest mirror of your discipline.
Why is it so accurate?
Because money shows exactly what you value, what you fear. And if you're living for the impulse of right now or the reality of the future, the undisciplined person is just a slave to impulse.
Spending when they're stressed or bored.
And then lifestyle inflation just eats up every raise they ever get.
I want to zero in on debt. The author calls consumer debt a quiet tax on undisciplined living. That is such a powerful way to put it.
It is. Debt is a structural weakness. It's constantly stealing your future resources to pay for past impulses. Financial discipline is simply stewardship. It's delayed gratification.
And the tools, like budgeting.
They're framed not as a punishment, but as a proactive design for peace. You're literally paying your future self first. You're building the structure for freedom years down the line.
Which brings us to the last one, the framework that holds it all together. The discipline of time and purpose.
If time is the rawest currency.
What's the biggest threat to it?
Distraction disguised as life. We're getting destroyed by 1,000 tiny diversions that stop us from doing any deep, meaningful work.
So what are the key disciplines for time?
Planning and prioritizing. Planning is just intentionally allocating your finite resources.
But what about prioritizing? How do you protect the important things when the urgent things are always screaming for attention?
You have to build walls around your priorities. Treat those important, purpose-linked tasks as non-negotiable parts of the structure. The source also hammers home the idea of deep work.
Because excellence isn't produced in fragments.
Never. But the clearest proof of maturity, the author insists, is the discipline of finishing. Anyone can start something. The disciplined person is the one who actually closes the loop.
Okay, let's pull back and look at the long game here. It's easy to get fired up about these pillars, but we all know most people fail. The force says it's because of an outcome addiction.
Yes, a huge flaw in how we think about goals. Everyone wants the harvest without doing the planting.
They want the magic pill.
They want the result without the process. They treat greatness like it's some mysterious gift, not a predictable system. The Kipchoge lesson is that incredible achievement is just a system practiced faithfully, day in, day out.
The process is the bridge between desire and reality.
It is, and it forces you to trust in gradual growth. It demands endurance, especially when you can't see the reward right away.
Which means you have to face boredom. I thought this was such a great point. Many people fail not because the goal is too high, but because the process is just too boring.
That's it. Boredom is the ultimate stress test for your structure. If your commitment falls apart the second the task gets repetitive, your foundation was never really strong.
Greatness is hidden inside that boring faithfulness.
Inside the daily routine you stick to when no one's watching and there's no applause, it's that continuous small choice to follow the design even when it feels, well, redundant.
This brings us to the final big synthesis point, the one that ties this whole deep dive together. That discipline isn't harshness. It isn't punishment.
It's the highest form of love.
Love for who?
It's love for your future self. Discipline is choosing your future peace, your future health, your future stability, your legacy, over today's fleeting impulse. The disciplined person is just the one who cares enough about their life's structure tomorrow to obey wisdom today.
Okay, let's recap the core promise we've pulled from this material. Discipline doesn't steal your life. It doesn't take your joy.
It gives your life back to you.
It's the only path to real freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom from regret, from chaos, from all those self-inflicted struggles that wear us down.
And the most hopeful message in all of this, I think, is that it's a skill.
It's a buildable skill, not some gift for a select few. It starts small, not with a massive overhaul of your whole life.
No, it begins with one small decision, one choice in one of these pillars that you honor over and over again until it becomes a reliable system.
Which really raises an important question for you, the listener, to take away from this. We know the most painful prison is a life that wasn't lived intentionally. So if freedom is really the ability to do what you should do, what is the one undisciplined habit you have to choose to govern starting today to reclaim that control?
And think about those 7 pillars we just walked through. Is it the distraction of your phone constantly stealing your attention?
Is it your sleep schedule compromising your body? Maybe it's an impulsive spending habit, or even just the tone of your speech in your relationships.
Just choose one structural element to reinforce.
And watch as the walls of your personal city begin to stand firm against any invasion. That choice, made today, is the ultimate act of liberation.